when you look at stuff like Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, obviously being a member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, as a,
Hang on, you're going to say something. No.
Yes, I do.
Jason, that's your thing. Everybody you talk to seems to have these incredible things in their collections that they get inspired to pull out. There you go. Okay, wow.
Hold that up.
That's a first. Okay.
Yeah, Sex Pistols Rock and Roll Fame. I'm not really supposed to have that, but I got it. No.
Welcome back to the Rockman Power Hour, a podcast where we talk about all things amazing in pop culture, and we speak to some of the most interesting people in music, movies, you name it, we've got them on the show. And this week, Ryan, we've got an incredible guy. Interesting, been there, done it, has had his hands in all kinds of influential music. I mean, founding member of the Sex Pistols, wrote all of the important songs on Nevermind the Bollocks. Now he's a touring member of Blondie, and he's got a solo career. Also had a ton of stuff that he's done in between all of that. So Glen Matlock is on the podcast this week. Are you excited?
He's been there, done that, and has a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame award, apparently.
Yeah, and we're going to see that in the episode.
Yeah, no, of course I'm excited. I saw Glenn play live a few times in Montreal doing his acoustic gigs, and it was really cool to actually have a little bit more time to reconnect but here's the thing, and shout out to Ben Kalman, who wrote a really cool play called Vicious Circles about the
I remember
Sex
that,
Pistols. Yep. Ben is a historian. Yeah. And he loves the Sex Pistols so much. And he was there at that gig too. And he got some vinyl signed. And Ben's a great guy. I'm so happy to know him. Here I am shouting you out on the podcast. But this whole interview is for you, Ben. Absolutely.
Amazing. Yeah, he is a good dude. I really, really like him. Okay, so listen, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's thank some of the incredible people and companies that help keep the wheels on the Rockman Power Hour, and our title sponsor, Heartbeat Hot Sauce, just a great hot sauce company out of Thunder Bay, Ontario. Ryan's happy because you're getting some sauce. Yes, we've placed our order, and we're going to be getting some new stuff because you got to re-up, right? You're a little low.
In a few episodes, they're going to be very saucy.
So I just wanted to hold up a bottle of Heartbeat Hot Sauce. This is the blueberry habanero. We use this religiously in our house. Actually, this morning, this is crazy. I sliced up a whole wheat bagel. Yeah. I put peanut butter and bananas. That's like one of my go-tos for breakfast when I want something hearty, especially because it's been so cold here. And I put some blueberry habanero on it. Dude, so good. So good. So, you think you're going to only need hot sauce for wings and stuff like that, but no, Heartbeat has something for everyone. And it really, really is great stuff. The heartbeat of Rockman Power Hour. So if you use our promo code Rockman20, you'll get 20% off your entire order. You like Heartbeat, right? You love Heartbeat.
Listen, I authentically ran out of Heartbeat hot sauce. Some people are sponsored by things just because they get paid. And that's just really sad. Like that joke in Wayne's World. That's not the case. I Ryan, swim in this.
I'm going to do this, and I know this is a show, and I'm taking valuable time, but I've got to show the authenticity of my Heartbeat hot sauce love. I'll be right back.
Absolutely. And I will use descriptive captioning for those of you who are just listening. Jason rides a dragon, shirtless, his muscles glistening in the sun. He holds up.
These are all going on right now in the fridge. Look, this is straight from the fridge. Okay. Like this is used in our house religiously. My kids are so happy that we're involved with Heartbeat that this is the real deal, dude. I mean, I love the idea of look how my dill pickle is like at the end here.
No amount of optimism can say that these bottles are half full.
There's no half full here. No. I need more. So, and if you haven't tried it yet, promo code Rockman20, 20% off your entire order. Do it. Got to thank the good folks at Studio House Designs. My microphone's always in the way, but I'm going to show this. I love this shirt. Okay. This is the Toby Hooper stack. Look at this.
That is quite a sight. Yeah, Studio House Designs actually the VHS box.
The VHS stacks, like he's the dude, man. Like that's Cody's design.
That's their signature. You know what I mean?
That's
like,
Cody's design.
Yeah.
And so many motherfuckers on the internet have stolen that, but that is him who originated that. That is him. He is the VHS stack man. And so yeah, check him out. Green Room. Oh man, very
Green Room. Such a cool movie and such a cool company. Because
do you know I've never seen Green Room?
Really?
No,
I feel you'd really like it. Patrick Stewart plays like a white supremacist. And it's one of Anton Yelchin's last movies. So, God, Anton Yelchin. Let's just take a minute to remember that talent. But speaking of talent, Glen Matlock, one of the most naturally talented members of the Sex Pistols. Oh, you want to talk about these sweet mics?
Yes, and AKG. We got to thank AKG. Thank you, AKG. We love these microphones and the headphones, and everything's sounding great on the podcast. So big shout out to them, and shout out to H1 Media, who also did the intro for our podcast, for that hookup. Our buddy Shy. Thank you. Okay, enough thank yous. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of it. Glen Matlock.
He's I don't think the Sex Pistols would have gotten as much done as quickly as possible without Glen kind of being that glue, that musical glue, because he's such a versatile musician. He's a multi-instrumentalist. He's gone on to play, like, after the Sex Pistols, he's played with everybody from Iggy Pop. He's currently playing in Blondie, and Blondie is not exactly like a show up and pluck some notes. Like, that's a disco band, okay? And disco, if it's known for anything, is for you can't suck at bass in order to play it.
Well, okay, I'm not trying to call you out, but the Blondies, yes, they had a disco-ish period, but they've got funky bass lines.
There you go.
Definitely, there's some funky bass going on in there, and I think when you're playing with Blondie, you've got to be versatile.
You need a heart of glass and a finger of iron.
But Glen has all that. And his new album, Consequences Coming, is going to be out April 27th on Cooking Vinyl. The new single is called Head on a Stick. That came out on January 27th. Great song, too. I genuinely really like this record.
Me too. I wish I actually thought to tell him that, but I was like, I'm talking to a Sex Pistol.
Yeah, I know.
I probably sounded a little stupid sometimes, but that song, that track explodes with energy. Like there's no 1, 2, 3, 4. Like as soon as you push play, it almost takes you aback. Like it's there. It started, and it's a good production too, like a wall of sound. And they're just going for it.
And it's fun because when he comes on, you and I usually have some stuff in the background, and he comes on and he asks, what's all that stuff behind you? And then he shows us his Thunderbird plane collection. And then he pulled out some other great stuff during the interview. So it's kind of fun to have somebody that's at that point in their life doing everything they've done, and they're still playful. And still has a passion and doesn't seem to take himself too seriously. So I like that. I like having people on that still have a lot of passion, but still are, firmly have their tongue planted in cheek.
There you go. Well, I guess we should play the interview.
Let's do it. Here is our conversation with Glen Matlock. How you doing, Glen? Nice to meet you. I'm Jason. This is Ryan over there. I don't know where he is on your thing, but he's somewhere over there. He's the blonde one. I'm the bald one.
How do you do?
Hi, right. Ryan. You're Ryan.
Hi.
Jason.
Yeah. Jason. Yeah.
Glen, do you know each other?
Do we know each other? Yeah.
Pretty well.
Yeah, pretty well. Yeah. Not intimately, but we know each other.
All right. All that stuff. You got loads of Japanese kind of.
Yeah, so I'm into vinyl toys, and this is Ron English, who is Ron English is a pop culture artist from New York, and he was the one that did, I don't know if you ever saw the documentary Super Size Me, where the guy ate McDonald's for 30 days. Well, he was the one who first made the Fat Ronald.
All right. Well, I'm impressed you got that, but look what I dug out the cupboard just over Christmas. Okay. Can you see those?
Oh, what are those? Oh, wow.
Have you heard of a thing called Thunderbirds?
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
It was like a kind of a puppet show, but this was before Thunderbird, supercar.
It travels in space or under the sea, and it can journey anywhere. Supercar.
And then Stingray came after Thunderbirds. and Fireball XL5 was before Supercar.
All I know is that somewhere out there's a living creature in distress. I can't let that call go unanswered.
They're in the wrong order, but I got them in order of kind of size, but they're quite good. They're like die-cast models.
So basically, you're one of us. You're a bit of a nerd too.
Ish.
I'm really, really grateful you took the time to chat with us today. Obviously, you've got, you got a new record coming out in April. You've got a new song that's been released about a week and a bit ago, and you've got a bit of a history, a bit of a pedigree in rock and roll and punk rock. You've done a lot. So at this point in your life and in your career, what gets you up in the morning to want to continue making music? I mean, I'm sure you could just say, I've done it. I can move on.
Well, I could do, but one thing I found in my life, and it's not a bad thing, but people kind of want to pigeonhole you as a guy that did that a long time ago. And I don't want to be the guy that did that a long time ago. And I still write songs. I don't force myself to write songs, but they sort of just appear sometimes. And then you kind of get an idea and it drives you mad. And unless you sit down and work it out and put it on a tape or a CD, you can't think straight. And especially when you get a few ideas, and when that happens over a period of maybe a year or so, you got an album.
Right.
So you play them to a couple of people and they go, that's rubbish. And you know that they're wrong. So then you're on a quest to prove them right. And then you're off again. And that's kind of what happens, basically. And I sort of juggle that in between getting asked to do other things. Like last year, I was trying to get my record out and it was all kind of going to go with one label and it went tits up in the end. But I'm not going to go down. I'm quite happy now that I'm on Cooking Vinyl. But out of the blue, Clem Burke called me up and I've known Clem for ages, and he said, they got a Blondie tour coming up and they need a bass player. And I said, when? And he said, next week. And it was like, whoa. So stuff like that tends to happen.
Right.
And I just kind of roll with it, As an artist, I'm a songwriter and I like presenting my songs. But as a kind of a workman, it's not very rock and roll this, but I'm going to let you into it. I kind of see playing bass as a bit like being a good plumber or a carpenter. School. Oh, you want some bass on that? When a guy comes around your house, he just fix you. I think you call it a furnace over there or something like that. Yeah. I can fix that. It'll cost you. And I like playing bass when somebody else is singing. And when I'm singing, I like to play the rhythm guitar. It was always my first instrument. Because when you're playing bass and it goes down to the bass and drums and you're trying to get the crowd to go like that, you can't let go of the bass.
Right.
So you like the rhythm. But when you play the guitar, you can blam, you there, and blam, you there. You need point. In soccer, if you watch the centre forward or one of the strikers who play up the front, they want the ball there and they want the ball there, and you want the crowd to do this and the crowd to do that. So it's kind of like that, really. Sounds a bit daft, but I do approach my music with a tongue-in-cheekness, even though I think lyrically I'm making some good points.
Well, I think it's great how that analogy, I've never heard anybody use that analogy, but it makes complete sense. The bass playing and you filling in as a bass player is like a trade. I mean, it's something you're good at. It's something you can do. It might not necessarily be your first love or something that you're running towards as a first choice when you get up in the morning. But the fact that you're good at it and people of a certain level are still calling you, it shows that there's something to it. And
the other thing with bass playing, I've never aspired to be Stanley Clarke. I think the best thing about bass playing is that it's just right. I like James Jameson, and all those Tamla Motown records. It's kind of pretty straightforward, but there's a few cool bits in there. I can do a few cool bits every now and then. Maybe not quite as good as him, but you can do that. Every now and then, I'm mates with Zach Starkey, and he's got some project going and all that. And I said, why do you keep calling me up all the time? He said, well, when you play bass, it's just right. So...
Nothing wrong with that. And if Debbie Harry's calling you, I'm sure they have their pick of who they could be calling. So it's still got to feel good that you're getting the call.
Maybe, yeah. But also, I think Clem recommended me because we've done loads of projects together over the years. Sure. Some good, some a bit airbrained. But, you feel an affinity with somebody. Similar age group, same kind of, I say similar age group because he's a bit older than me. And the same influences, sort of, yeah.
Sure.
And in fact, Clem plays on a couple of tracks on my album. I got my normal, like Chris Musto plays on most of it, and then towards the end of making the album, I had a couple of newer songs, and it was still in lockdown then, and we wasn't really supposed to go in studios, and in America it was a bit different, and Clem had access to a studio, and he went in with an engineer, and he put some drum tracks down for what was turned out to be the first song on the album, which is Head on a Stick, which is a single that came out last Friday over here. And the last song on the album, The Ship, which kind of sort of bookended what I was trying to say in the album, really.
I'm glad you brought up Head on a Stick. Heard it this morning. And Glenn, I've seen you play in Montreal a few times. Actually, we've met before, but I was amongst many people, and you were lovely to everybody that night. But I've seen you play these acoustic shows where you did a retrospective of all your songwriting from all the various bands, whether if it was the Rich Kids or the Faces or, well, of course, Sex Pistols. And it was really cool to see how much you had accomplished since the Pistol days. But I had, up until this morning, never really heard you sing and play with the full band experience and the energy and the attitude. And it's something I realized that touches upon all your songwriting. There's, from the Pistol days to currently, there's still that Glen Matlock signature attitude underneath all of it. And it's this connectivity between it. Do you find that after all these years of writing songs, that you still write songs like, you?
Probably. I've never really analysed it. I know when I try and write a song, especially lyrically, I try and write a song like I'm having a conversation with somebody. Mm-hmm. The words I choose is what you might, if I was talking to you now, but I had a guitar in my hand, I'd be doing that. And of course, it's got to rhyme a little bit. My yardstick is, I liked all the beat groups and Small Faces and all Tamla Motown. We mentioned Jamie Jameson before. From the 60s, I think that's the perfect blueprint for a pop rock song. It's that 3.5 minute slice of whatever it's supposed to be about. And all the Tamla stuff, I mean, some of those songs are like mini operas, there's this condensed kind of story with a beginning, a middle, and an end. I've never been much of a jammer, especially A, I'm no lead guitarist, and B, if you're a bass player, it's a bit boring doing 12-bar blues for half an hour, with everybody all showing off. I'd rather go and have a coffee and a cigarette outside somewhere. But that's it. Every now and then I've got something that's on my mind and a song comes out. So there's a theme to the record. It's not like a rock opera or anything like that. But they used to call it a concept album. But, I think an album, I kind of miss the album format, which used to be. And it's like where an artist's at a particular point in time, and it sort of spans the period of it being made and when the songs were being written. And the songs initially were being written when you had the whole Trump debacle in the States, and we've got Brexit over here in England, and it's lurched to the right wing for no real apparent reason, and all these people saying that they're the men of the people, and they're not. They've just all got vested interests. So I'm kind of railing about that, really, and I think there's a small chink of light at the very end of the tunnel, and I can see for some of these people there's some kind of consequence coming. Who's doing it? I hope so, and I think they should be brought to account. And anyway, that's what Head on the Stick's about. So there you go.
And it's funny because when I saw the album cover and I listened to the record and the title Consequences Coming, and it just, and I know it's like sonically it's different, but it just brought me back to when I would listen to an artist like Billy Bragg. Billy Bragg Billy Bragg would write, and it's very similar in the sense that he would have a conversation. He would be talking about something that was passionate, and it just gave me that kind of a vibe.
Okay, fair enough. I like Billy. I find him a bit tub thumping.
He is. He's a bit. He gets up on the soapbox a bit, but it just kind of a bit
sort of preaching to the converted a little bit. I try to be a tiny little bit more general, so it doesn't go over people's heads. But the record came out. I mean, it's not top of the charts or anything, but I've been doing a lot of press over here, and I did a BBC breakfast show at the beginning of the week, and it's really struck a chord. I went viral for the first time for having a go at the powers that be on the BBC. So I didn't mean to. I just spoke my mind. Yeah. So I think it's an abrogation of responsibility if you're an artist and you can get your record on the radio every now and then, and you don't use that time to say something that's worthwhile.
Right.
On the other end, I could write a silly love song that, so, you know, what's that Kylie Minogue one? Sell millions of copies.
Yeah.
I'll do it. I can't do it.
Yeah.
I was watching an interview with Bob Dylan that came up online, and some guy was like, it might have been an older interview talking about songwriting, and he was saying, you know, he wrote all those songs years ago, you know, like all the famous ones like Rainy Day Women and Hard Rain's Gonna Come and stuff like that. He said I can't write a song like that now. That was some other guy who did it, and it was a phase he went through, and he's tried and he can't get back to that. So you kind of evolve. Some people do. Maybe I'll just do the same old thing over and over again. I don't know.
But you do have you are rooted in writing music a bit about rebellion. I mean, let's face it.
Well, rock and roll should be about rebellion, really.
You know, this is as rebellious as it gets, and this is the birth of a lot of people's careers. I mean, you know, it's great to hear the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees were announced, and you know that story of how Joy Division, the two members met at a Sex Pistols show. I mean, but
don't blame me.
No. I know you, but I'm just saying, but your music was still being played. And the reality is that, you know, you've been ground zero to a lot of artists creatively. So, so something has to be said about that.
Yeah. What are we going to say about it? Good for them. It's a jolly good thing.
When you look at stuff like Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you know, obviously being a member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, as a you want
to say something?
Yes, I do.
Jason, that's your thing. Everybody you talk to seems to have these incredible things in their collections that they get inspired to pull out. There you go. Okay, wow.
Hold that up.
That's a first. Okay.
Yeah, Sex Pistols Rock and Roll Fame. I'm not really supposed to have that, but I got it. No, John, and it was funny because I knew the guy at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I forget his name now. He was a lovely bloke. He was like the archivist. Mm-hmm. And I said, "But look, we're not really supposed to have it, but I would be there. Can't you just send it to me?" And he said, "Well, we can't really do that, Glenn. It's like, you know, you got to be here." And all right. Anyway, I did a tour, one of those acoustic tours, and I did a double head thing with Sylvain, and we ended up in Cleveland.
Yeah.
At the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, did a show, and this guy interviewed. I wish I could remember his name. And Sylvain presented me that, right? But we was on tour, right? We was driving around with guitars and merch, you know, and bags and all that. I picked up, and it's really blinking heavy. I said, I can't lug that around with me. And the guy who I'd asked to send it to me, he said, "Oh, don't worry, we'll send it to you." I was like, well, after all that kind of thing. So they sent it to me in the end, but I had to be there to sign this affidavit that I wasn't going to put it up on eBay.
That's great. So when you see you know, bands paying tribute to you, and that are, you know, a band like, you know, Joy Division, does it make you happy? I mean, does it make you say, well, you know, my music has blossomed into, you know, and the same thing happened for you too, when they would go back and they would say, well, we listened to Joy Division. So it's funny how you see that tree, you know, that branches off into different areas.
Yeah, well, I think music is really, we were supposed to be a sea change of music, but I think that's a load of nonsense. I think music is like a baton race, you know, and the people before, you take the baton off of them and you play, and then you give it to the next people. I mean, the other side of that, do I get a buzz out? It all depends if you like Joy Division or not. You know?
Your time in the Pistols, you can definitely tell when you were the player and when you weren't. You know, Sid was a nice fellow, but wasn't exactly up to your musical caliber. And you could definitely hear your stamp on the Sex Pistols with actual bass lines, like in Pretty Vagrant and Anarchy of the UK. Yeah. But famously speaking, everybody always thought that you and Sid had it out for each other, but it turns out that you were friends and you actually played a show together, right?
Well, we was kind of, I'm not in terms of acquaintances. He lived around the corner from me. In fact, it's dark now. If you look out the window, I live in this house, and out the back is a mews. Do you know what a mews is? It's where people used to have a whole big house. That's where they used to keep their horses, right?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, like a stable. And over the years, people live in and all that. But Sid used to live over the back, so I'm kind of overshadowed by Sid, even to this day. But he was a neighbour. The Pistols had broken up by then, and I used to bump into him in the local pub. Then he said, "Well, you know, people seem to think we're enemies." And I said, "Well, we're sitting here." And he went, "Yeah." What? And I said, "Well, I don't know. Hey, we could do a gig." And he went, oh, that's an idea. Who would we get? And I said, well, could I get Steve? On my band, the Rich Kids at the time, Steve New was a fantastic guitarist. Get Rat Scabies, who'd actually fallen out with a Damned at the time, and he had a side band called the White Cats. And Sid. And he said, well, who's going to play bass? And I said, well, Sid, look, I'm not going to sing. And he went, oh, well, who's going to sing then? And I said, how about you sing and I play bass? He went, oh, okay. And that was it. And we just did a gig for a laugh, and we just did all cover versions, and we put the word out. And that was like, say, on the Thursday. And then the next Wednesday, we did the Electric Ballroom. And back then, word of mouth was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And we sold the place out. And in fact, I think that's where I met Clem and Debbie for the first time, because they were in London. And you would see them out and about. You know, when a band's on tour, you can't, when you got a night off, you can't sit in your hotel room. And they would go and check things out. So I think I remember seeing them there then, you know, and the guys, what's the guy from Thin Lizzy, the bass player, what's his name?
Oh, yeah, God. I
forget, Phil Lynott. You know, he was there, and everybody was up to hijinks, but it was a laugh. So, yeah, there you go. And in fact, there's a guy called Rob Dickens who signed me to Warner Chappell Music and then became head of WA in Europe. And I went to see him, I don't know, 15 years ago with some tapes I'd made and stuff. And he went, well, it's all right, Glenn, but it's not the best thing you've ever had. And I said, well, you know, we can't live up to the Sex Pistols all the time. He said, no, not the Sex Pistols. I said, who then? He said, that Vicious White Kid gig you did with Sid. I said, but you thought that was good? He said, it was so exciting. I said, well, why didn't you say so at the time and sign us up? He said, well, the other side of the coin was that you was also out of it. And we were.
You know, when you look at the way rock and roll used to be with all the excesses and, you know, all the casualties that we've seen over the years, what do you attribute to your longevity? To be able to, you know, to make it out the other side, and you know, you look great, you sound great, the music's great.
I look great, thank you. But and I kind of look after myself now. I was never a drug kind of person, but I did drink too much. But when I was doing Reviggy a long time ago, and it took a long while for him saying this to me to sink in, but I thought, you know, when you're drunk and you think it's kind of funny to wind somebody up a little bit, and then when you're drunk, you don't realise you said it 2 minutes ago, and you say it again and over and over. And Iggy got really annoyed with me, and he said, Glenn, he said, you're out of order. Iggy Pop said it to me. He said, the American people will not stand for your kind of behaviour. The American people will just not stomach it. And that's Iggy Pop telling me off for being so out of it. And I thought, ooh. So that kind of sunk in after a bit. But yeah, I've been clean living for a long while now, apart from a cigarette every now and then. That's my only remaining vice. And coffee.
Yes, coffee is very important. I too am someone who doesn't drink. I've been sober 30 years. And
well, about the same for me. That's about.
And it's, you know, it's something for me that I think, you know, a lot of people, especially younger artists, you know, they get caught up in this thing, and it's normal. You know, when you're a bunch of guys or girls getting together and you're playing music for the first time. Usually, you're in your teens. You're discovering alcohol. You may be smoking a bit of pot, and it's a reason to get together.
And also you're probably a bit shy.
Yeah.
Don't have much confidence, and I don't know what you call it in Canada, but we say when you have a drink for a bit of Dutch courage.
100%, yeah.
It brings you out yourself, you know. So all that. But when you don't have to get up in the morning, you know, you don't have to get up in the morning. You stay up a bit too much longer, and then you struggle to get up in the morning. And
it switches. It becomes that thing that used to be fun. And but what a lot of artists will get caught up with when they're young is that, well, I need it to be creative. And the thing is, I've never been so creative since I'm sober. You know, I was more creative and did more sober than I ever would have done if I would have continued drinking. So I think that's a bit of a cop out.
Yeah, maybe.
I just thought I sounded better when I was drunk. When I was sober, I was like, "This is how I sing." Oh God.
Oh yeah, listening back to it, but then you become a bit more of a perfectionist. But anyway, so, you know, good for you, kind of Billy for me. I don't go on about it too much. You know what? I saw some TV show with Ringo Starr was on being interviewed with, I think, Michael Aspel, and it got long stopped all that, and he was going on about it, and he was really boring. And I thought, I don't want to be like that. You know, so I don't make a big song and dance about it, but if somebody asked me,
Yeah.
But we're Canadian. We find all the accents like musically wonderful. We're like, oh, everyone sounds so interesting. But yeah, if I hear some Canadian guy go on for 8 minutes, I'm like, oh God, shut up, Dudley Do Right.
So the new album is coming out April 27th. Will there be some tour dates announced as well?
Well, we're working on that now, and
okay.
Now it's great. I'm doing the Blondie thing, but I did want this to be out the tail end of last year. It didn't work out like that, so now the Blondie thing's coming up. So I might be doing something probably in the UK in May.
Okay,
but the Blondie stuff finishes at the end of June, and then I got all the rest of the year. So
right,
hopefully, I'll have to come to play in Canada.
It'd be nice to have you here, and you're going to be playing on the new Blondie record as well, right?
Yeah, we recorded
a
new album. When we recorded a whole bunch of stuff in New York in what'd you say, autumn or the fall?
Well, both, but we'd say fall or autumn, both.
Right. Well, I call it autumn, but we did it in the fall in New York, and I just put the rhythm tracks down with Clem, and it was sounding good, but I haven't heard any of the finished stuff yet, so I'm sure they all know what they're doing, And Debbie's really good singer. When I started rehearsing with them, this was in Hoboken, and the sound guy said, "Everything all right?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "You could turn Debbie up." And he said, "Well, it's pretty loud. Can't you hear her?" I said, "No, I just like listening to it. Turn it up."
Well, she is. I mean, listen, she's a legend, and it's funny. There was a Basquiat exhibit in Montreal, and he was so there in that whole moment when music was changing and stuff was going into hip hop, and it's just to see all those old pictures of Debbie and that New York nightlife. It just looked like it would have been a lot of fun.
There you go. I mean, just going back to the good old days, but the Pistols, you can't take away the importance of a scene, and it. The art and the photographs and the fashion and the music all feed into each other now, and it's a springboard for people bouncing ideas off of people. So, I was in New York in the early 80s when that was going on, a bit purely mainly because of playing there with Iggy Pop initially. And another thing was quite interesting was when people forget this. Do you remember a guy called Freddie Laker?
Yep.
Yeah, Laker Airlines at like really cheap flights. Well, he went out of business, but it forced all the other airlines to do like standby fares and things.
Yeah.
And New York was full of English people, and London was full of people from New York. It was kind of weird.
Before we let you go, I just really want to ask you, because we have, his name has been brought up a couple of times. Can you remember the first time you met Iggy Pop?
Yeah. When my band, the Rich Kids, folded, because Midge, and Rusty Egan wanted to kind of do this other project which took off with Steve Strange, and that was like the birth of new romanticism.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be in a rock and roll band. It kind of split the band up. Long story, I won't go into it, but I broke the band up, and this is in the days before mobile phones and even probably before answer machines. So we're talking about 1979, and I didn't know what I was going to do, and I thought to myself, God, what am I going to do now? Wouldn't it be great if the phone rang? I'm not kidding you. 2 minutes later, the telephone rang. I picked up and I said, hello. This is in the middle of the afternoon, and this English guy said, hi, is Glen Matlock there? And I said, yes. Who are you? And he said, well, you won't know me. My name's Peter Davis, but I manage Iggy Pop, and we're here in town, and we'd like to meet up with you for a drink. And I said, who's buying? And they said, we are. And I said, I'll see you very soon. And next thing I was on tour with Iggy Pop. So that's how it happened. But what had happened really was the guy who was the Rich Kids agent knew that the Rich Kids had folded.
Right.
This guy called John Giddings. He's got this agency called Solo now, and he's probably one of the biggest bookers in the world. He was also Iggy's agent. So he knew, and Iggy was short of a bass player because the guy who played bass on the New Values album, which they was going to tour, was going to play second guitar on the tour. So they needed somebody. But I'm really glad I did it. I wish I played with him a bit longer, but things happened,
But it still must have been pretty. So many people will see Iggy Pop, staring at him from the front, but it must have been amazing to see him doing all of his stage antics and being the front man that he was from behind. It must have been quite a treat to see it from that vantage point.
Yeah, and it was, again, by doing things like that, you're just a bass player, but now kind of I'm singing and all that. You pick up little things out to work a crowd, and he's Iggy Pop, but he's kind of pretty pro. as well, then it's a thing. And he probably picked up stuff from hanging out with Bowie. He was a bit of a past master, all that kind of thing.
Right.
So it's kind of good to move in those circles. It helps you up your game a little bit.
Well, you've definitely moved in some incredible circles, and I'm really excited for people to hear the new record. It's called Consequences Coming. It's out April 27th on Cooking Vinyl. Thank you so much for taking the time and chatting with us today.
All right.
It's been an absolute pleasure, and nothing but continued success, and keep collecting your stuff, because I love the fact that you're passionate about stuff. I think that's great.
Yeah, it's kind of I've got most of them. It's a Thunderbirds one, but there's 5 of them you got to get, and I'm a tightwad, and I can't decide which one to get. So I'll just have to let that one go.
Well, if anybody's listening, Glenn is looking for. You have 3, and you're looking for 2 more.
I've got 3. I think possibly a Thunderbird 1.
All right. So if anyone's got a Thunderbird 1,
1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and they all had different attributes and did different things. 5 was the Ilberton space station. Thunderbird 3 was the rocket that went up to it.
Yeah.
Thunderbird 4 was this big green thing with a pod that had different things dropped out of it, to save the day around the world for, if some kid was stuck down the coal mine, and then it had another one, Thunderbird 2, I think. Was that Thunderbird 4, which was yellow, which looked like a tractor without any wheels and went underneath the water and had like a thing on the front. And then Thunderbird 1 was like the space age rocket that took off, and it had swing wings like an F-111, but went up.
Right.
So there you go.
So wait, what about this show was that fascinating to you? Was it the planes and the ships, or the fact that it was puppets piloting them? Because Thunderbirds and all that is a very fascinating, specific piece of entertainment.
We were talking about puppets. It was real.
I just, out of respect, I was going to go, all right, I'm not going to say anything because maybe he really thinks it's real.
Have you watched Team America?
I just like the designs, and it's part of my childhood, and it's kind of hanging on to my youth somehow. That's what it all is with all these things. We're hanging on to our youth by spending a lot of money on nonsense.
Sex Pistols were my Thunderbirds, apparently, so that's great.
Thanks so much, Glenn. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Take care, man.
Hey, thanks a lot. Bye. I'm sure Glen Matlock, who was named Matlock his entire life, didn't ever think that there was going to be some sort of like a North American TV show about a rather elderly lawyer.
Probably not. I mean, that's the thing. When you have a distinctive last name like that, and anything happens, it's like, my name's Jason, right? My entire life, people were coming up going, like it's hockey masks, all that fun stuff.
I know, but your last name's Rockman, and it's a really good thing that you enjoy rock music, because it would just be ironic if you hated rock.
Oh, gee, look who came into the frame. Do you see that?
No,
it's June. Hi, June.
It's a dog.
It's a dog's tail. Okay, she needs cuddles. Yeah, listen, I'm very, I don't have a bad last name, that's for sure. I know that. Most people think my last name's fake, which is funny.
Which is funny because my last name is fake. And I've managed to convince people it's real.
Yeah. Hey, Mr. Stick.
Yeah. Except my good friends, everybody with stage names or whatever, like it's always their good friends are just like, that's not your real name. Your name's not Iggy Pop. What you talking about, Bob? Yeah.
Well, my name's really Jason Rockman. Thank you so much for joining us this week on the Rockman Power Hour. If my left hand seems a little occupied under the table, I'm not doing what you think I'm doing. I'm petting my dog. If you're watching this, and if you're listening, carry on. Thanks so much for joining us.
If you're just listening, that's not innuendo.
Yeah. Thanks to Heartbeat Hot Sauce, the heartbeat of the Rockman Power Hour. Definitely check out our promo code Rockman20, and it'll give you 20% off their entire order. This is one we haven't talked about a lot. This is the Lion's Mane Piri Piri Heatiness number 4. What a fancy name for a hot sauce. And this one is great. As you can see, it's been used quite a bit. I think I'm going to start bringing out the used Heartbeat Hot Sauce bottles to show the authenticity of our love for Heartbeat. So use our promo code Rockman20. You'll get 20% off your entire order. Also, thank you to Studio House Designs for making us look fresh. And thank you to AKG for making it sound good.
I gotta say, AKG, you make some nice headphones, because I put on some other headphones on my ears the other day, and I was like, what is this filth I've been living in before I knew greatness?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's like when you get something fancy and you're like, wow, this is what quality sounds like. So thank you to AKG. Thank you to our producer, Julia Kajerski. Thanks to my co-host, Ryan Stick. And thanks to all of you. And please like, subscribe, leave it in the comments, anybody you'd like us to have on the Rockman Power. And if we can get them on, we will do just that. And again, thank you so much for spending time with us. And we'll see you next time on the Rockman Power Hour.